Hello and welcome back to Unicorn Clothing video series. This video is going to try to help show you different ways to lace your bodice. I know it's a weird angle, but hopefully the video is pretty understandable. Not that it matters, but this is the back of a bodice that I just quickly unlaced so that I would have something to show you. Okay, so we'll start with the basic way. The most standard way to lace a bodice is just like a shoe. So all that you do is you go from the inside to the outside in a crisscross fashion. So there we go, inside, outside. Make sure they're even. Okay. And what I do if I'm not putting it on myself is I kind of just sew one lace down and then the other lace down. But you can do alternating one after the other too. It doesn't really matter. If you do them one at a time, you just have to make sure to skip a hole for the other side. So there you go, crisscross. And then we'll do this one from inside to outside. Just like that. When you're done, you can tighten it up as much as you need to by pulling on the strings like this. It pulls the tension up and it keeps the strings even. And then you would just tie it in a bow. So that's step one, basic lacing. Another option, if you need to lace a bodice smaller than the most tightest level that this can be laced, because you see the tightest that the bodice can be laced when you lace it like this is to have the boning line up next to each other, like that. If you need to make the bodice so much smaller that it overlaps, you'll have to do a different lacing style. There are a couple of options. My favorite I call X lacing. And all you do is, so you'll lay the bodice one on top of the other. You see how the boning is overlapping, and you see how it brought it in a little bit more. You start the same way with the string making a bar on the underside, like that, you see? And both ends are coming out from the inside, like this. Okay. With one end, you start to make half of an X. So it came from inside to out here. So you're going to make an X over both pieces of boning and go from the outside to the inside on the next row. See? Like that. And you can do that to this string too. So you've made an X on top of your bodice. Now we're going to make an X on the underside of the bodice. And we're not going to see it right here. So you take this string right here, it's underneath, and you're going to cross to the other side and come out from the inside. So it's kind of like you're sewing the two pieces together. There you go, inside to inside. And then we're going to do the same thing as we did. Now we're back to this pattern. Both of them coming out the top here. Make another X. And an X. And then we'll do it underneath again, right here like this. X. X. One more. And then the last one, they both come out again. And you just tie a bow right here. If you need to tighten it a little, you can. Pull it a little tighter. And you can see that it's totally overlapped now. It won't stretch apart. You can see these X's. You can also see they make the same kind of X's on the inside, like that. This is called X-laced. And it's a medium way, let's say, of making the bodice smaller. It makes it a little smaller because it overlaps both pieces of boning. Let's say you're doing awesome, you lost a bunch of weight, or maybe it's a hand-me-down piece and you're still too small for it, you need it even smaller. There's a third way of lacing called a ladder lace that can make it even a little bit smaller than this. Okay, so unlace this. With a ladder lace, you bring it in a little more and you line up all of the grommets together, like this, so the bodice has actually overlapped itself. Okay? From here, you go through both grommets at the same time. Okay? So, and then you go back through both grommets at the same time. Okay, so we've got, in one grommet, we've got string coming out both sides, like this, see? Doot, doot. The one that's on top, you'll go back through both grommets like this. And the one that's on the bottom, you'll come up through those same two grommets. So each row of grommets has two pieces of string through, two layers of string, because they're getting threaded back and forth like that, okay? And just keep going. The one on the top goes through both from the top, and the one on the bottom goes through both from the bottom. Okay, and then you can pull it snug. We'll keep going real fast till we get to the bottom. In terms of adjustability and measurements with these three different ways of lacing, the first way of lacing lets you expand the bodice to wider than the panels are. In our princess cut bodice, for example, there are 4 points of adjustability there. And it's pretty acceptable socially and as far as comfort goes to let the bodice expand up to 2 inches at each point. So that's 8 extra inches of adjustability on one particular bodice size. If you expanded it as far out as it could go, you had 8 extra inches. Lacing each of the points of the bodice, so let's say lacing those 4 points of the bodice using the X lacing method, brings the bodice in about 1 inch at each point. So that's about 4 inches less. Okay? So now we've got a spread from between 8 inches out to 4 inches down. Ladder lacing the bodice like this brings the bodice in about another 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch, depending on how far set in the grommets are. So that's another 4 inches down. So we've got 8 inches in either direction of adjustability on one bodice size. So while we do like to fit you to a bodice that most fits you at the time of purchase, they're pretty flexible. So if you go up and down a little bit in your sizes, or you're still a growing girl, or whatever the scenario may be, you don't have to worry that this expensive investment piece, because the bodice is usually the most expensive part, is going to not fit you the next time you want to wear it. You can see how many adjustability options that we have. I hope this video helps. Of course, if you're ever in the area and you need help with your bodice, you're welcome to come back into our shops at any of the Renaissance festivals near you, and we would love to help fit you into the bodice. But if you're stuck and you're not able to come out to us, this hopefully will help you be able to resize your bodice a little bit on your own. If you got any more questions, you can visit us online at unicornclothing.com or on Facebook at facebook.com/unicornclothing.